So what are you sensing is the mood around the program right now? I mean, I think this, the phase one or whatever we want to call it, we kind of saw a little bit of a circle the wagons, kind of feeling coming out of there. They know that this is do or die. They know that the production has to improve going into year three and that the seat is hot. But what is the mood around the team as a whole?
Yeah, I think one, the changes that were made, I think helped buy-in from the players,
Hmm.
especially with the strength program. To bring in Craig Fitzgerald and him to have the impact that he did with Tyler Miles, because they wrote that program together. And then for Craig to leave is kind of like a gut punch to
Yeah.
the staff and to the players, and then they kind of rallied around Tyler Miles, and he got promoted. Um, he I think has helped kind of raise just the buy-in from the players.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's just call it like it is. There was we heard from several sources that there was just some disgruntlement from how the strength program was being run. Obviously, Billy decided to make a change with Mark Hockey,
Yeah.
um, and I mean that factors into buy-in.
Sure.
If players
Sure.
aren't really 100% in on the off-season workouts or don't really feel like they're being developed. Um, that can affect things. And I think that the fact that there's been a change there, you go from guys coming in the office asking for a change in the strength and conditioning
Yeah.
program to now coming in the office and saying, we need to keep this coach, you need to hire him.
Yeah.
That's an encouraging,
Sure.
sign of change and development.
Yeah.
So um, I say all that to say I do think that the buy-in is better, and like you can hear coaches say that every offseason and every
Sure.
spring, and it just
Sure.
sounds like coach speak. When they say it this year, I think there's a little bit of credence to that because of those factors that I just talked about. And then they feel, they look at their roster. This is 81% of the scholarship roster are Billy Napier
Yeah.
recruits. So this is his team. These are his players. If these guys didn't want to be here, they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like they would have left by now. So I think everybody here believes in the staff, believes in this team, believes in the strength coach. Now they've got a daunting schedule,
Hmm.
and they still got a lot of things that they got to figure out. But there is some encouragement, and some things that I think that they feel better about heading into this new year.
Do you have any thoughts on the comments that Steve Spurrier made last week? I can't, it's hard knowing the full context of when they were made and whatever, and to know, like, I know he said after the fact, like, well, I was talking about SEC programs as a whole or whatever. But when, the godfather of Florida football speaks, people tend to listen. Do you have any thoughts on his comments?
Yeah, I think that I mean, this is just my personal opinion, and I don't think Gene Fournette in any way did anything wrong here.
Sure.
But I I think Steve was just having a phone call with Gene,
Hmm.
and he and Gene go back. Steve sometimes can, I think, on a phone call or just in regular conversation, uh, speak his mind maybe more than he would if he was recording his podcast or
Yeah.
having an appearance. So I don't think he takes back what he said, but like I don't think that when he made those comments to Gene, he realized what he was saying or the impact that they would have, that they would be part of this big feature on DJ Lagway and
Mhm.
the state of the program and be kind of used as ammunition against Billy. I think if he would have known that that's where his comments were going to be taken into context, I don't know if he would have said that publicly.
Right.
And now, as far as what he said and how he felt, what I think he was trying to say is what a lot of Florida fans have said, which is, there are question marks about who is in charge of what. Who's in charge of special
Hmm.
teams, who's calling the plays on defense, who's calling the plays on offense. There was a lot of staff changes this offseason. The strength coach left, and then there was that window of 2 weeks where they didn't know who was going to run the strength
Hmm.
program. So I just think the uncertainty and question marks, I think that's some of what he's saying, and some of the, whether it be frustrations or just curiosity of wanting to know what's going on, and um, whether that's having those roles be a little bit more defined, not having too many cooks in the kitchen. Like I think that's kind of what he was getting at. Now I think, externally that's how he and a lot of people feel.
Yeah.
Internally, I don't think that Napier and his staff are questioning their roles or who's doing what,
Sure.
or I think they know exactly for the most part what everybody's job is,
Yeah.
and who's going to be calling plays, who's in charge of this responsibility, who's in charge of that responsibility. Napier hasn't just straight up defined those yet in press conferences, other than
Sure.
saying Austin was going to call plays. But like he
Yeah.
hasn't just straight up said, "Oh, I'm calling plays," or
Yeah.
Chris Couch is doing this on special teams, and Joe Houston is doing this on
Yeah.
special teams. Ron Roberts is doing this with the defense.
Yeah.
Austin's doing this. Like if some of those comments had been made right out of the gate,
That would have helped.
I think that would have eliminated some of the confusion that people
Sure.
had about what. And so I think that that's where he was getting at. But again, I don't think that he went out of his way to like
Sure. Of course
criticize
not.
Billy.
Right.
I think he was just having a phone conversation with Gene.
Yeah.
Probably didn't realize how big of a story
It was going to
that
be.
was going to turn
Yeah.
into, and probably wouldn't make those comments again if he had a chance. So it was interesting. Obviously, it doesn't help Billy in the program when you got
Right.
the HBC weighing in. Like
Yeah.
that's a pretty big cloud hanging over you.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes it difficult. I don't think he's wrong, but I also don't think it was helpful uh,
No,
to where
he's
we
not
are.
wrong. And that's why I think like if Billy would have come out and just said early on in the offseason or after that first signing day, like, hey, I'm calling the plays this year.
Yep.
Um,
Just don't leave no
and
question, you know? That's,
yeah, like, and if he would have said, hey, we're bringing in Joe Houston and this is what he's going to do. And this is what Chris got. Like, we still don't know
right.
how special
Exactly.
teams responsibilities are
Yeah.
divvied up. And I don't
Yeah.
know if we ever will.
Right.
Um,
But that would be helpful. I think PR is some of the things that we maybe Florida struggles with the most is that like sometimes some concise statements to be put out could put a lot of this to bed. Um,
Now, why is that? Is Billy doing that because he wants to keep people in the dark, or he doesn't want to get into the specifics of his organization or
yeah, I don't
people's
know.
responsibilities and feels like that's not fans or media's business? Or is he, in some instances, not sure what he's going to do,
Yeah.
i.e., Russ Callaway? Like, he might know that he's giving Russ more responsibilities. He might not be ready to come out and say
What
he's
those
going to
are.
call plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that why he's being coy, or in some of these instances that could be the case? But regardless of the reasoning, that reality is out there, and that's
Mhm.
why Spurrier and some other people feel that way. And at the end of the day, they gotta get to the fall, and they have to put a product on the field that's better and improved and
Yeah.
wins games. And if they do that, then nobody's really going to be questioning the organization or the job titles or things like that.
Yeah. I agree. All you got to do is win. Clear
Yeah,
gets rid
that
of a
solves
lot of
everything.
ills for sure. Well, Zach, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I completely appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can check out your work.
Yes, you guys can go to gatorsonline.com to read me, Nick, Corey, and Keith. Obviously, this is a busy time of year with spring football, recruiting visits happening. March Madness is coming up, so I'll be covering the NCAA tournament for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. So definitely encourage you guys to come check out our site if you're not subscribed already. You can just do get in the door for $1 to check out all of our work, and it'll be worth your time.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. Have a great day.
Appreciate it, Allie. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.